G'day YouTubers. I got out last weekend to go offshore. The plan was to have a prospect around the 50 fathom line and see if I could find some new ground. Well, you know what they say about the best laid plans of mice and men? They're subject to change. I got out as far as Pearly Reef and the whales were on, so I stopped and just drifted Pearly Reef. I was very distracted. I didn't get a lot of fishing done. The whales put on such a show. They put on the best show that I think I've ever seen out there. Now, I've seen pictures of them breaching and tail slapping and all the rest of it, but I'd never seen it all in one trip. They were having a ball. Actually, you could say they were having a whale of a time. So a few people have been asking me things like, how do you log on to BMR, how do you plan your trips, etc. So I'll go through all that in this video, as well as show you some footage of the whales, and I did get a couple of fish, even one quite surprising one. Nice early start to the day. It is, what time is it? 10 past 5. That's not too bad. Just coming out of the small boats passage into the Rous, and there's dawn. Beautiful. Marine Rescue Jacobs Well, Marine Rescue Jacobs Well. This is Sea Venture on 82.
Sea Venture. Marine Rescue Jacobs Well.
Marine Rescue Jacobs Well, I'd like to go on the log for today. My rego is Yankee Bravo 014 Quebec. I'm just inside the South Passage bar. I'm about to cross out the middle channel. I'll give you a call when I get through that. One person on board. I'll be fishing on the 35 fathom line east of the South Passage bar, and ETA back at the Raby Bay ramp at 1500 hours today.
Maybe that's Sea Venture. Got a mobile number on board?
Yeah, affirmative. Should have it on record.
That's alright, mate. Just let us know when you safely across the bar. Marine Rescue Jacobs Well, standing by.
Sea Venture affirmative, standing by. Okay, and that's it. That's all there is to logging on. Depending on the weather, I generally just log on before I cross the bar, and I'll log off again when I get back in. I'll do a call as soon as we get across. Stay on the throttle, on and off the throttle when needed. Jarring my back as I go over the top of some of these big ones. Well, these aren't what I call really big, but I think the worst of it behind us. Lost my tenant. Just wait till I get out a little bit deeper, and then I'll stop and give Jacobs Well a call. Let him know I'm safely through. Yeah, I'll give you a call. Marine Rescue Jacobs Well, Marine Rescue Jacobs Well. This is Sea Venture on 82.
Sea Venture, Marine Rescue Jacobs Well.
Marine Rescue Jacobs Well, I'm safely through the bar now, thank you very much. I'll give you a call before I cross back in.
Sea Venture, have a good day. Marine Rescue Jacobs Well, standing by.
Sea Venture out. Out in the Pacific or the Coral Sea, if you prefer, tough taking his head above the clouds now, and how calm is that? They're just there, whoa! How close is that? Oh, I'm just drifting, so I'm not going to start the engine. I think you've gone deep this time. Oh, well, that was special too. Magnificent! I don't know if that's the same whale, keeps coming back, or whether there's just a herd of them going past. That's the third time I've had a whale come up that close though. Ah, yes, you're out there now. No tail again. We've got an acrobatic whale coming towards us. He's reaching and jumping and having a whale of a time. I haven't had a camera on. He's too far away for the GoPro. He might be too far away for this one yet, but I'm going to hold the camera on for a minute and just see if we can catch him. I had planned to do exploring on this trip, but I'm having too much fun sitting around here watching the whales. Oh, they seem to have disappeared for a bit. Oh, no, oh, look at that. I hope that came out in the camera. Tail in the air having a wave. Oh dear, I hope I can get that in the camera. Oh, look at that. Oh, a breach. God, I hope I got that on camera. Oh, there she blows. Sometimes it's just nice to sit back and enjoy nature. To heck with the exploring, I'm having fun. I don't think I'm going to get much exploring done because I'm having fun just here watching the whales. I didn't get the camera on in time. Oh yeah, there he is, doing tail slaps. You can hear the slap, the water. Magic, absolute magic. All right, there they are. There she blows. Heading this way. Well, sit here and watch them go past. Now, I'll just point this out, I'm in at the 35 fathom line. If you go out much further, 50 fathoms or more, that's something to keep an eye out for because they can't turn if they see you. They're not going to turn, they can't. So it's up to you to keep an eye out for them, and if you see one coming for you, get out of its way. Don't tell me I wasn't recording any of that. If I was, went through a big long explanation of this is the first time I've used this reel, even though I've had it for nearly 12 months, electric reel. Got it for deep dropping, haven't been out there yet. And even though this isn't deep dropping, I thought I'd better give it a go. I've got to get this first use on camera. Nothing on him, of course, but as we drifted way off the line that I wanted to follow, got a bite. Had a waypoint on that. And have I got him though? That's the question. He's there. I don't think he's taken the hook. If he has taken the hook, he's damn small. Let's have to pull him up and see if we've got anything. We'll see if we've got any bait left, I should say. Oh, we have got a tiny baby on. Oh, well, okay. Not quite what I wanted. Yeah, you're too small to be out here. Circle hook did a nice job anyway. What are you? You wouldn't even be... Oh, you are 25, you're 28. Never mind, there you go. How's he doing that without getting cooked? Yeah, okay. Okay, got you this time. I got some colour there. Oh, here's keep it. Daisy. There we go. And nice snap. Had a feed on all of them, got caught on the last, eh? That'll teach you to be greedy. Give you a measure. Let's see what you're going. I know you're going to be legal, but I just want to see what you are. 44 and a half. Okay, you'll do. Alright, on the board. And first one on my electric reel, even though the electric part didn't work all that well. I'll have to look into that circuit break. Something's not right with it. It is sized correctly for the rod, but it's popping way too quick. I might have to replace the circuit breaker, it might be faulty. I think I might have a small one here. One thing about this is it's easy to crank, so the fact that the circuit breaker keeps popping isn't all that bad. There, got colour down there. On the bottom hook this time. Again, actually I think the last one was on the bottom hook too. Oh, flathead. Wow. My wife will be happy. Her favourite. Good on ya. Who would have thought out here? You're big enough, you're 40, 42, 43. And you've lost an eye at some point. Poor old fella, you have been in the wars, haven't you? Oh, you got one. Hope he's a keeper. Make my last trip worthwhile. Clouds are coming up too. I'm going to watch the storm coming in this afternoon. To watch it doesn't come in early. Another flathead. Is it? A bloody grinner. Bloody grinner. Big grinner. Alright, well you can go straight in the bait bucket. Mince you up for burley. This is the scene just outside the bar. How calm it is. There's some white caps on the bar and you can see that turquoise water where it gets really shallow, but not much to speak of. Just look at that behind me. Beautiful. It's been such a good day out here. Pity it wasn't a good day for fishing. The moon was wrong, Solunar was wrong, tides, everything was wrong. But nevertheless, got a couple and had a great time. And saw a lot of whales, they just distracted me out of sight. Marine Rescue Jake as well, Marine Rescue Jake as well. This is Sea Venture on 8.2. Sea Venture, this is Marine Rescue Jake as well. Marine Rescue Jake as well. I'm just outside the middle channel of the South Passage Bar, about to cross back in. I'll give you a call when I'm safely through. Romeo that. Marine Rescue Jake as well on standby. Sea Venture standing by. Marine Rescue Jake as well, Marine Rescue Jake as well. This is Sea Venture on 8.2. Sea Venture, Marine Rescue Jake as well, go ahead please. Marine Rescue Jake as well, I'm safely through the bar now. You could take us off the log, thank you very much for your coverage. Romeo that, I'll take you off the log, have a lovely afternoon. Marine Rescue Jake as well. Sea Venture out. A lot of people ask me about how to plan a trip, so I'll just take a few minutes now and go through looking at the weather forecasts and deciding whether it's good to go out. The first thing I check is the weather, and depending where I'm going depends on where I look at it, but in this particular trip I check Fish Ranger, which is one of my favourite sites. That's the graph on the left hand side, and here I'm looking at Point Lookout because that's the closest spot to where I'm going. You'll notice that there's two graphs there. The top one is based on the Australian Bureau of Meteorology forecasting data, and the bottom one is based on the American Global Forecasting System. Often you'll find that those two disagree, and you can flip a coin. But in this particular case, they're in very close alignment, and that always gives me quite a deal of confidence that I can rely on that forecast. So that's the first thing. The graph on the right hand side is from Woolly Weather, and that's my other go-to site. That uses the Australian Bureau of Meteorology data as well. A lot of other sites don't, they just rely on the overseas data such as the GFS chart, or there are European, UK, several others. There's about 7 different forecasting systems that I'm aware of, and they all have their strengths and weaknesses. For Australian conditions, I generally go to the Australian Bureau of Meteorology data, but doing a cross-reference with the GFS does give me a lot of confidence. I'll just pop some arrows in there at 1300 hours, which is when the wind is due to come up. There's also a storm forecast for the afternoon, and the storm may not be part of that wind forecast. Never underestimate the fury of a storm at sea, and always plan to be out of the way when it hits if you know it's coming. In any event, I was pretty confident that if I was back in over the bar around 12 o'clock-ish, I was going to be safe from just about anything that was forecast to happen. So that was the first thing I looked at. I'll also just point out that the red line there, which is the actual measured wind speed at the nearest weather station to the point that I'm looking at, was below the forecast yesterday, so that also gives me a fair bit of confidence that the forecast might be a maximum rather than a minimum. But of course, it's no guarantee. The next thing I want to know about is the wave and swell height. For that I go back to Fish Ranger, which is the two graphs on the left here. Woolly Weather, I've added the swell height to the main graph in the centre. That's the grey shaded area at the bottom of the graph. And finally I look at the wave monitoring buoys, the one off Point Lookout in this particular case. As you can see in the top left hand graph from Fish Ranger, the wind wave is going to start picking up around 1300 hours. The bottom left-hand graph from Fish Ranger combines the wind and the swell wave. That also shows that it's going to pick up around 1 o'clock, and it's going to get just over a metre, so hey, not a big deal you think. However, look at the arrows that are above that graph and how they drop down. The arrows indicate the swell direction, but the height of them off the bottom of the graph indicate the swell period. The legend for the swell period is on the right hand side, and in the morning we're looking at a period of between 10 and 12 seconds for that swell, which is hardly noticeable. However, once the wave starts to pick up, the swell period drops down to around 5 seconds, and that's when you're going to know about it, even though it's only just over a metre, about 4 feet. So the bottom line is I want to be crossing the bar just after 12 o'clock to be well and truly inside by 1 o'clock. The graphs on the right hand side are from the Brisbane Wave Monitoring Buoy off Point Lookout, and they are real-time graphs. There's no forecasting involved here, they just show the history of the waves. Now looking at the top graph, that tells me that the wave height on the latest graph point is a little over a metre, but there's a slight trend downwards, so it probably drop below a metre maybe by tomorrow morning. But a metre's quite fine on the wave period, so I'm not real worried about that. It can be a little bit more than the forecast, I'm still fine. If we look at the peak energy period in the middle graph, that's showing between 10 and 12 seconds, which is in perfect agreement with the forecast, so again, really happy with that. The direction of the waves in the bottom graph is a little bit different to the forecast. Again, I'm not real worried about it. The only reason I look at the direction is to see if it's wind against wave. It is in fact wind against wave, but the wind's not real strong, the waves aren't real high, so again, not very worried about that. Deciding what you're comfortable with is really not something anyone can tell you. You've got to go out there and experience the conditions for yourself and decide whether that's something you want to do or not. Once I'm satisfied with the weather conditions, I start to have a look and see what the fishing conditions are going to be like. I generally start with the current to see how much current is running, and that gives me an idea of just how much lead I'm going to need to get down to the bottom. In this particular case, the current is under 1 knot, it's down almost to nothing depending on the tide. So really happy with that current. That's a great current for getting down to the bottom on light sinkers. If there's too much current running, it's pretty hard to get down to the bottom even with a couple of pounds of lead on. Or probably more accurately, pretty hard to stay on the bottom. And while the current will probably never be a go or no-go factor, it does have a bearing on just whereabouts I might go. Next I'll have a look at the Solunar charts and mean phase. The Solunar charts here are from Fish Ranger. I have my own on my own application, which I tend to put a little bit more faith in, but nevertheless it's a bad day. However, any day you can get out on the water and fish is a good day. So again, these don't really influence my decision. And in fact, I'm not sure that they don't do more harm than good. Because if the Solunar chart's bad, I get the idea that I'm not going to catch any fish, and you go out there thinking you're not going to catch any fish, then that could create the conditions needed for a self-fulfilling prophecy. Tides are the next factor I look at. I don't really worry about the tide for crossing the bar. I like to know what it is when I'm going in or out, but other than that, I just adjust my technique to suit. But I do want to have a look and see what the tides are for fishing. I tend to like to fish the run-in tide offshore, but again, it's not a go or no-go decision on the tides, because any time I can get out in the water is a good time. I can't always get out there at the right tide. And finally, I have a look at the barometric forecast. I don't want to see too much change in the barometer. 2 points is about the maximum, 2 points in the time that I'm fishing. And in this case, we've got 2 points. So again, not my favourite day for going fishing. The way I figure it is that the barometer changes, the fish get uncomfortable, they don't want to eat when they're uncomfortable. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. A lot of people subscribe to that theory, and it seems to be true. Or at least it seems to correspond with changes in the barometric pressure. Make of it what you will. And finally, I have a look at the rain chart. I want to know if it's going to rain, not because I believe that old chestnut about fish not biting when they get wet, not because I'm worried about getting wet myself. I rather like the rain on the water, but I do want to know if I need to pack the wet weather gear. As long as there's no storm, I'm quite happy to go out in a bit of rain. And that's it. That's all the weather preparation I do for going out on a fishing trip offshore. I'll just leave you with one word of warning though, and that is no matter how well prepared you are weather-wise, sooner or later if you go out often enough, you're going to come unstuck and you'll come back and have to do a bar crossing over a really messy bar. I try to avoid it, but it has happened. So the bottom line is, if either you or your boat is not up to doing a crossing over a really messy bar, think twice about going out at all. I'll put some links down in the video description for all of the websites that I look at for the weather. Fish Ranger and Willy Weather are also available on phone apps, so you can check it while you're out there. And that brings us to the end of another video. I hope I've addressed some of the issues that people have asked me to by way of checking the weather and crossing bars, etc. I had an absolute ball out there watching those whales, so much so I didn't even worry about fishing for a lot of it. I put up some of the best footage I got. The cameras didn't do it justice because whatever you take in the camera, unless you've got a telephoto lens on it, just appears a lot further away than it actually is. The Mark 1 eyeball gave me the best view of all. I find it pretty much impossible to use a telephoto lens on the boat because of the motion of the boat. It's hard to keep things in frame. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. If you got this far, you've done really well. Until next time, good fishing.